Have you ever had those moments where, well, where daily life just feels a bit unreal, almost dreamlike? Like you're caught in some kind of, I don't know, cosmic pause, an in-between space.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling lately.
Well, if that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really quite extraordinary message. It comes from a source calling itself Zurian of Sirius, talking about Earth's profound ascension journey.
That's right. And our mission here really is to unpack this whole idea of an unprecedented transition, especially what Zurian calls the quantum waiting room.
Okay, the quantum waiting room.
Yeah, it's a fascinating way to describe this current phase we're in, this sort of in-between time, where experiences can swing, wildly between things that feel jarringly familiar, maybe even difficult, and these brilliant, really love-filled moments.
Right.
So we'll be pulling out insights on what this actually means for you right here, right now.
Okay, so the goal is to help you understand this idea of two realities kind of coexisting, get a handle on the huge changes happening, and crucially give you some practical ways to consciously navigate this quantum waiting room time with hopefully more clarity, more purpose.
Exactly.
So to start us off, Zurian talks about something called the Great Divide. Can you help us unpack that? What does this rapid widening of a vibrational gap actually mean between a new Earth and an old Earth?
Certainly. The core idea Zurian puts forward is that for a while now, really, especially since around 2012, there have been these two distinct vibrational realities coexisting here on Earth.
Okay.
One is rooted in, light, love, unity, consciousness.
Yeah.
The other is still more anchored in fear, chaos, separation.
How does that play out?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine two people watching the exact same news story. One person might see it and feel it's just proof of global collapse, total despair.
Right.
The other person watches the same thing and sees it as maybe a necessary clearing, an opportunity for transformation.
Ah, okay. Same event, different perception.
Exactly. That difference in perception, which really stems from their inner state, their vibration. That's what Zurian means by these coexisting realities. And the message says that while souls from both paths have kind of walked side by side for a long time, the choice points have largely passed. The split is getting faster, more obvious.
Now, 2012. That's a date that sticks in a lot of people's minds. December 21st, 2012. There was so much talk about the end of a cycle, the start of something new.
There was.
And for some, there was this expectation almost of an immediate big event, maybe a solar flash that, it didn't happen quite like predicted. Does Zurian address why?
They do, yes. The source explains that the full intensity of that anticipated solar flash was actually sort of postponed, held back by the spiritual hierarchy.
Why?
Zurian states that back then, only maybe a few 100,000 humans were truly ready vibrationally. That's far, far below the critical mass needed. They mention around 22% awakened souls to buffer the experience and prevent widespread trauma.
So it could have been too shocking.
Potentially, yes. More harm than good for souls not yet prepared. So according to Zurian, that decision allowed millions more people to awaken more gradually, more gently, over this 12-year chapter we've just been through, from 2012 up to 2024.
Okay, so that 12-year chapter is ending now. And Zurian points to the period right ahead, from, say, 2025 into late 2026 as a time of tremendous changes. What kind of changes are we talking about?
Well, Zurian predicts we'll see a dissolution of old timelines and realities. This is expected to really impact things like corrupt institutions, outdated financial and political systems. Even Earth herself, Gaia, is going through radical shifts.
Dissolution sounds intense.
It can look that way, and the source acknowledges these changes might seem chaotic, maybe even apocalyptic to some people, like the end of their world. But Zurian reframes it, calls it the labor contractions before the birth of a new Earth.
Labor contractions.
Yeah.
I like that metaphor.
Right. And during this time, human consciousness is expected to expand incredibly rapidly. The difference, the divergence between these timelines will become much more obvious. It might literally feel like you're living in a completely different reality than, say, your neighbors or even some family members.
Wow. That's quite a thought. Which leads us to individual choice, right? Zurian really emphasizes this, but says it's not judgment, more like a vibrational sorting. How does our daily focus, our attitude play into this?
It's central. The
Yeah.
message is really clear. Each person now has to consciously choose which reality they want to experience, and you choose through your daily focus, your attitudes, your actions.
How so?
Zurian explains that people who consistently focus on love, creativity, unity, hope, they'll find their lives generally stabilizing, improving. They're aligning with the new Earth timeline, what's often called 5D.
Okay. And the alternative?
Conversely, those who keep their focus mainly on fear, conflict, blame, despair, well, life will tend to show them more reasons to feel those things. They'll persist on the old timeline, maybe a 4D experience. The source basically says the time for sitting on the fence is ending. The energetic gap is just getting too wide to have a foot in both worlds anymore.
Is there a timeline for this sorting?
Zurian does offer one, suggesting this separation process will be pretty much fully complete and settled around 2027.
And the outcome?
They state that roughly 1/3 of humanity, the light quotient group they call them, will ascend, will stabilize on this 5D Earth. Others will transition to a different 3D planet to continue their learning, but importantly, without the really dark influences that have been present here.
So it's not just us changing. You mentioned Earth herself, Gaia, as Zurian calls her. She's also transforming, purifying.
Absolutely, and the source uses this really interesting analogy, connecting Gaia's process to our own biology.
Oh, how so?
Well, Zurian compares Gaia's actions to how our bodies use exosomes. You know, those tiny vesicles our cells release.
Right, for communication and healing within the body.
Exactly. So the source suggests Gaia is doing something similar on a planetary scale. When we see things like floods, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, even big social upheavals. Zurian says, think of these as Gaia sending out signals, bringing hidden toxicity, dense energy up to the surface so it can be released and cleared.
So she's not attacking us?
Not at all. According to this source, she's actively fleshing out old, dense patterns to heal herself. It's a purification process.
Okay. And this 5D Earth reality, what does Zurian say it actually feels like to be in that higher vibrational space? Is it totally different?
It's described as having a profound silence, but not like emptiness or lifelessness, more like the calm after a storm has passed.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a clarity of thought, of emotion, that's maybe rare now, where the inner noise just quiets down and your connection to intuition, to peace, feels almost effortless. It's called a still point, where consciousness reorganizes, becomes more transparent, more light-filled.
Sounds peaceful.
Very. The density, the heaviness we often feel now that just falls away. Your body, your mind feel lighter, more fluid, luminous even. And the key thing is this feeling of a continuous conscious connection with Source.
That does sound incredible. But getting there, navigating this in-between phase, this liminal phase, Zurian calls it, it sounds challenging. What's the key advice for keeping your balance?
There's one piece of advice that really stands out. Zurian says, nothing truly good or real can come to you in this phase unless it also can flow from within you.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, in the past, maybe temporary gains like money, status, external approval might have seemed to come from the outside. But now, the source says, anything you try to acquire or hold on to that isn't genuinely aligned with your inner truth, your higher vibration, will create an energetic mismatch.
A mismatch.
Leading
potentially to sudden endings or losses. But Zurian clarifies this isn't punishment. It actually serves a purpose. It helps you birth this new way of being and encourages you to value only what truly arises from your own soul's integrity.
So external stuff might feel less important.
It might, yes, as we start seeing what's truly real, what's lasting, what you cultivate within yourself, that connection, that integrity, that can't be lost.
That's a really powerful way to look at things that might feel like setbacks.
Oh.
And to help with this clearing process, the source recommends a practical tool, doing an energetic cord cutting ceremony, maybe once a week.
Yes, it's presented as a very helpful, actionable practice.
Sounds intriguing.
It's basically a simple ritual to consciously release those lingering energetic attachments to people, situations, patterns that might be draining you or holding you back.
Can you walk us through it quickly? How would someone do that? Sure. Zurian outlines some pretty clear steps. First, you'd prepare a sacred space, light a candle, maybe some incense, quiet music, whatever feels right to you, to signal it's a dedicated time for healing.
Okay.
Second, ground and center yourself. Visualize roots going down into the earth, maybe light coming down from Source through your crown. Just feel stable and present.
Got it.
Third, call in protection and support. Your higher self, guardian angels, Archangel Michael is often mentioned for this, or any beings of pure divine light you resonate with.
Right, ask for help.
Exactly. Fourth, identify what cords you want to release. Set a clear intention to cut negative cords draining you. You might specifically name emotions like fear, old habits, or even specific relationship dynamics that feel heavy or out of alignment. You might even get a sense or a visual of these cords. Fifth, the actual cutting. Envision a tool, maybe a sort of light, scissors, or Zurion, specifically mentions using the violet flame sweeping around you. As you do this, affirm something like, I cut all cords of fear, toxicity, and attachment. I release these energies now for the highest good of all concerned. Feel the release.
Powerful.
Sixth, heal and fill the space. Visualize brilliant source light, maybe gold or white light, pouring into any spaces left by the cords you cut. You confirm forgiveness for yourself and anyone else involved. Just fill yourself with light.
Nice.
And finally, seventh, just give thanks. Express gratitude to your guides, to yourself, and close the ceremony, trusting that the release is complete.
That sounds like a really valuable practice for maintaining energetic hygiene, especially now.
It really does.
And speaking of dealing with difficult energy, it's so easy to look at the world right now and feel grief, sadness, maybe even despair. Things can seem like they're just spiraling. How does Zurian suggest we handle that?
Yeah, that's a big one. Zurian offers a really interesting perspective. They say, the Earth you experience right now is not the same Earth you will experience even in the next split second.
What does that mean, like parallel realities?
Kind of, yeah. The emphasis is that your focus, your choices, your vibration are constantly shifting you between slightly different versions of collective reality. So if a big global issue is really hitting you hard, making you despair,
Yeah.
instead of getting lost in the despair, Zurian encourages you to ask why. Why does this specific issue trigger such a strong reaction in me? What fear, what old wound, what unresolved feeling is it activating?
Okay, so turn inward.
Exactly. For instance, if news about the economy sends you into a panic, maybe it's touching a deep-seated fear about survival, about lack, that's ready to be looked at and healed within you.
So we use those outer events, or rather our reactions to them, as signposts, guideposts for our own inner work. And that actually shifts something externally.
Precisely. When you identify that specific fear or pain within yourself, and you consciously work to process and release it, you naturally shift your own frequency. You shift onto a different timeline, vibrationally speaking. Zurian says the next time you encounter news about that same world issue, it might still be happening, but it won't drag you down in the same way. It won't have that same emotional charge because you've healed the part of you that was resonating with it.
Wow.
The source even says, powerfully, it only takes one person's shift your own to experience a brand new Earth.
That really puts the power back in our hands. It's not about waiting for some big external event.
No, Zurian counters that expectation of a single grand event. You know, the flash, the rapture, the apocalypse, whatever people imagine. The source explains that your soul actually chose to be here for the journey. You came to experience the ride, to gradually walk the path of evolution, step by conscious step.
That's such a beautiful reframe. It means Ascension isn't some future destination we're waiting for. It's actually happening right now, in every moment of every day.
Exactly. It's happening in those countless small choices we make constantly. The choice between, say, reacting with anger and judgment, which Zurian might call a 3D mindset, or choosing compassion, understanding, forgiveness, which aligns more with 5D.
So holding on to grudges versus letting go.
That's a perfect example. Each choice nudges your vibration one way or the other.
So if you're feeling impatient for this whole shift to just be done already.
Zurian suggests reframing that impatience. See, the completion, the arrival in 5D as absolutely inevitable. It's going to happen. So instead of focusing on when, focus on the present moment of becoming.
Focus on the journey itself.
Yes, you actually have the power right now, according to the source, to bring heaven to earth. How? By consciously choosing those higher vibrations, by infusing your daily life, your physical reality with those galactic and divine energies, by becoming a living example for others through your own inner state and how you interact with the world.
Living example.
Okay.
Now, something else that's impossible to ignore is the intense division we see everywhere. People splitting off based on beliefs, opinions. Zurian addresses this too, doesn't it? Warns against it.
Oh, very directly. The source warns against splitting yourselves in two over-ideological lines, getting caught up in thinking your beliefs make you right or smarter. Zurian says this actually disempowers you both individually and collectively.
How does it disempower us?
Because, Zurian says, it ignores a profound truth, which is that every person out there represents an aspect of you.
Every person, even those we strongly disagree with.
Yes. So, judging them, hating them. The Source calls it self-harm in disguise.
Wow. So unity doesn't mean everyone agreeing.
Not at all. Zurian clarifies that unity comes from acknowledging the shared divine essence within everyone, even when you disagree strongly on the surface. It's about finding that common human ground, extending a hand, practicing acceptance of what is, rather than trying to force everyone into one box.
Acceptance of what is. That's challenging but powerful. And linked to this, maybe, is all the darkness and shadows that seem to be coming up everywhere. Secrets, old traumas, corruption being exposed. It feels overwhelming.
It can feel incredibly overwhelming, yes. But Zurian explains this is actually a necessary part of the ascension process. Why? Because what remains hidden cannot be healed.
Okay, so it has to come up to be cleared.
Exactly. The Source frames it not as a disaster, but as an opportunity for deep healing and change. Because just by shining consciousness on the shadow, by looking at it, acknowledging it, you're already beginning to dissolve its power. Zurian reminds us we are alchemists at the soul level. Our job, in part, is to help clear these dense energies.
Alchemist, I like that. But going through all this, the division, the shadows, the feeling of old structures dissolving, it can lead to feeling really unmoored, right? Like you're just floating in a void, maybe even losing yourself.
Yes, that feeling of disorientation and emptiness is very real for many people right now. But again, Zurian offers a different perspective. It's described not as something wrong, but as a cocoon stage.
A cocoon stage, like a butterfly.
Precisely. It's a critical phase where the old identity, the old conditioning is dissolving, making space for your true authentic self to emerge. The Source puts it very clearly. You cannot fully step into the new until you have completely detached from the old.
So that emptiness isn't failure, it's potential.
It's presented as a gift, actually. That feeling of emptiness or nothingness is called the quantum cradle of creation. Think of it like hitting a cosmic reset button, but at a higher level, a space of pure potential. Zurian says the void precedes a fresh big bang of your personal universe.
A big bang of your personal universe, wow.
Yeah, so basically this emptiness isn't loss. It's an essential clearing of the slate that allows a totally new, higher level reality, your reality, to be created.
Okay, so if someone is feeling that emptiness, that void, what's the guidance? How do you navigate that with intention?
The main suggestion from Zurian is pretty simple, but profound. Doing less and being more.
Doing less, being more. What does that look like?
It means consciously choosing to spend quality time connecting with your God self, your higher self, your inner divinity, your connection to Source, whatever term resonates.
Okay.
And it means deliberately pulling back from some of the constant external noise. You know, maybe less news scrolling, less social media, less relying on what the Source calls addictions of distraction.
Turning inward and upward.
Exactly. Shifting your consciousness inward and upward. Exploring what truly feeds your soul. Maybe it's journaling, maybe it's art, music, spending quiet time in nature, or literally just sitting in silence and breathing.
Those things can feel unproductive sometimes in the old way of thinking.
Right. But Zurian says these activities are everything. They're vital because they allow you to tap into the joy of pure existence and creation in unity with Source. That's where the real juice is.
Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, it's clear Zurian describes this time ahead as, well, dynamic and fast-moving, energetically speaking.
That's right.
But the core message seems to be that it's nothing to fear. Trust is key.
Trust is presented as your safety harness, absolutely. And also the importance of community, finding your tribe, even if it's virtual. That support is really fortifying right now.
And above all,
Zurian keeps coming back to love. Stay in love. Love for yourself, love for others, for Gaia, for Source. That love frequency is described as the lighthouse, the beacon, guiding you home to this 5D way of living.
love calms the storms.
It can, yes. And it opens doors to solutions you might not see otherwise. Miraculous solutions, even.
And finally, this idea of shifting away from struggle. Not needing to earn your place in the new earth through effort.
Right.
But moving more into receiving and flowing, trusting the universe.
Exactly. Shifting from efforting through life to allowing life to flow to you and through you. Trusting that your needs will be met as you align with this higher vibration.
Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder.
Yeah, this is a good one. How might your own perception of productivity need to shift right now? If doing less and being more truly is the new path to vitality, to well-being, to manifesting what you need, What old ideas about struggle, about pushing and striving, might you be willing to consciously let go of?
Could you allow yourself to be carried just a bit more by this swift current of evolution, trusting, as Zurian of Sirius reminds us, that it actually is safe to do so? Something to think about.